Everything's changed. The FBI are raiding Epstein's home. You can't stay silent. South drawing room, 2 chairs, 6 feet apart.
It's like a Western. Make no mistake, if we don't get the tone right, the story won't be him. It'll be us.
Your Royal Highness.
When the interview with Prince Andrew came out, I was actually living in Spain. But I remember it was this massive thing, really worldwide. Do you remember where you were and what your reaction was when the interview came out?
I don't remember where I was, and I watched it a number of times, so that would have been a number of locations. But my reaction was what, how, why, and it remains that way.
I didn't actually watch it when it first came out. I knew that it was going to be, you were hearing that it was an incredibly challenging watch and in uncomfortability, and so I think I put it off for some time. So it wasn't part of the hype that initially came up around it, but yeah, it's extraordinary on so many levels.
I don't remember where I was. No, and I didn't sit and watch it live or anything, But I think I came to it the way a lot of people did. It's like there were clips and stuff like that, and then I eventually sat down and watched the whole thing. Just as anthropologically, it's very interesting. But it's kind of I had the same reaction I think as to most people.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, the reaction.
You had the easy part of that answer.
What he said.
Ditto. I'm going to be quiet for the next question.
So coming into this movie, since it's become such an iconic moment, TV moment, were you looking forward to recreate any particular bit from the story?
I was looking forward to the interview scene, actually, which does bring it back to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a huge part of the film, and I'm a very small part of that. But it was kind of great, just what it was like being. Like doing a play. I don't know how many pages it was, but there were huge long takes and very focused, every department. And that's always very exciting. So
and it's something you don't often get a chance to do when you're filming, is to be in a scene long enough for me not to be worrying about how well it's going. You can just, like a play, you can even start badly and it can get good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the adrenaline sort of goes out.
Yeah, and then suddenly, once you think, oh, this isn't going very well, you free it up to go well.
Yeah.
So we would do the scene on a loop, and it was the first thing we did, me sitting opposite, Gillian as Emily. And it was a strange little netherworld we were all in for a day and a half, 2 days, just doing the scene. And it was really great to get that out of the way. Yeah. Because to have it waiting for us at the end of filming would have been...
felt a bit unfair, wouldn't it? It was a strange netherworld for me because I had one line in the middle of about 15 pages. So I was in a netherworld of do not miss this.
So you could just screw up the whole thing. Sorry, darlings. Sorry, loves.
Yeah. But fascinating and lovely to kind of be able to watch these guys work. And
Yeah, so Rufus, your transformation into Prince Andrew is just incredible. What was your first reaction when you saw yourself in the mirror, like makeup, prosthetics, no?
Well, it was a slow thing, I even did a little bit of, work just when I was on my own for a few months so I could experiment with different shapes and find out where I wasn't that dissimilar and where I was, And then when we did the first makeup, it was about 4 hours. Very interesting thing watching slowly, layer by layer, bits of yourself recede and something else come through. And they use bits of you and bits of the other person until it becomes a strange mixture where it's still, after about 4 hours, it still looks like your face, but your idea of your own face has changed. And slowly, bit by bit, any of the things that felt weird on my face came away. Even if they were things that made me look more like him, better to be rid of them so you could just felt like your face. And then they let me go off on my own for a little while. And I did this one thing where I went and did photos with extras of me with various potentates. And this bloke sitting next to me, he was supposed to be an Arab leader. He said, "How long have you been in the game? I don't think we've worked together before." And I said, "A few years, but I didn't look like this." Obviously he went, "How do you mean?" And I said, "Well, this isn't my face." He said, "What do you mean it's not your face?" I went, "This is makeup." He said, "Is it?" And I thought that for me was extraordinary because it meant I passed the kind of uncanny valley test.
Yeah.
But people they didn't think I was Andrew. Once I told them who I was playing, they went, "Oh, that makes sense." But they didn't, for a second, not take me as a, and that really.
No, I couldn't see it anymore, and I spent a lot of time looking and also feeling that.
Yeah, so you spent a while tugging too, didn't you?
That's amazing. It must have been quite nice getting it off every day, at the end of every
It's
night.
always faintly disappointing. I
"Look
think
at me."
by the end you're expecting something better when it comes off. There's something about someone else's foibles that are more comfortable than your own.
Coming into this movie, since it's become this iconic TV moment, were there any bits of the interview or the whole story that you were particularly looking forward to recreate in this movie?
I was just really excited to be able to stand in the room and watch Gillian and Rufus do that. And it felt like actually watching a play, and it was directed in such a way that we sat through it from beginning to end a number of times. And there was something very sort of goosebumpy about that for me.
For me too.
It just felt so real, like it was actually happening, and we were witnessing this moment in time that I don't think I'll ever see an interview like that again in my lifetime. Maybe I certainly hadn't seen one like that before. But to watch it and sort of, it did feel like it was actually happening. It was so good. It was so believable.
Well, it's funny because Rufus and I had obviously prepared separately, and we hadn't rehearsed, and then we had all the cameras, the whole setup was there, the chairs, and we were going to give it a go and try it in the for the 10-minute scene that it was going to be, and it was very odd because on the one hand there was part of me that was entirely focused on this is where she looked down, this is where she looked up, this is where she gesticulated, this is all that, but at the same time when Rufus started there was part of me that was like, oh my God, he looks exactly like him. Oh my God, he moved his head in exactly the same way. I was thinking like, he's amazing. And so I was trying not to react in real time to what Rufus was doing and answer as Emily or ask as Emily. And so it was a very weird meta moment.
Was.
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously you played two amazing real life women here. Did you get to meet them and get some advice from them?
Yeah, I met Sam a load of times. Pre-shooting, she was an exec, so she was readily available to us on set quite a lot. And we had dinners and martinis. She loves martinis. Do you like martinis?
I used to.
Well, so I did some socialising. She would send me loads of videos of herself doing, everyday domestic things, walking, sitting, laughing, all of that. Because she wasn't or isn't so public facing, although obviously everything's about to change for her. I didn't have a great deal of stuff to sort of access on the internet. I imagine you had
That's
a wealth of
great
stuff.
that she did that for you.
Yeah, she's very. She should get her friend to film her walking down the street. She's got a very unique walk. She sort of bounces off her heels, and she's very tall, and she wears these amazing Fendi boots. So yeah, there's a lot to pick from. It's great. As an actor, it's a gift.
Yeah. And Emily is all over the place, so there's plenty of footage of her bouncing and running and doing everything.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't the direct contact with Emily in the same way. She's got her own project that they're doing, and so her focus, outside of her, day job, has been on that. But there's plenty of footage to watch.
So obviously many viewers will come into the movie to see the interview because it's the iconic bit, but there's more to the story than that. So why are you hoping that audiences get away from this film?
I think what's really important about this script for me when I read it was it doesn't claim any more godlike knowledge of people's motivations of what happened than we already know. But the fact that this is a story, there'll be a film made about the victims one day probably, and maybe, and we know about Andrew, but this is a story about the women behind this whole thing who made it happen, bringing him to give an account of himself, and I think that's the most important thing. And also that people who've done bad things, people who've done good things, people who are in the news. It's never, the more you can remind yourself that they are humans, that is always better for a full picture, for full understanding. And yeah, I think that's what's important.
Same.
Yeah. It's a good setup for you, isn't it?
Couldn't have put it better myself.